in actually right now. Actually, there are two. I got two cats in here helping me to do this reading, and one in particular is actually stood right on me right now. If Reverent Lisa and I have got one thing in common besides science of mind, it's quite a few things. It's cats, science fantasy, amongst other things. Today's title from the Science of Mind magazine daily guide, it's actually called Worship in Reverent Honor. Probably a good a title as any could have been actually balance, because really that's what it's about. It's about balance in life. So here we go. This is what Reverend Margaret has to offer us. She says Ernest Holmes says in Seminar Lectures, page 79, in the silence of your own consciousness, alone with the great reality, capital R, you balance the account. And an evolved soul is always a worshipper of God, worshiping God in everything. And that's the Science of Mind textbook on page 362. And this is what Margaret says. Worship is a word we often use during our spiritual ministrations, and the dictionary gives us some insights into this when it defines worship as, quote, reverence, honor, and homage paid to God or a sacred person. He goes on to say it also gets a little secular and sometimes closer to home with another definition that refers to, quote, excessive worship of business success, unquote. So we might wonder what it is that we are bending our knees to, or what we may be bowing down to, and whether these are worthy of such devotion. Probably see where this is going. We have choice, of course, we always do. Vigorous thanks can pour great energy into the acquisition of deep spirituality or the acquisition of fame and fortune. It is not that one form is better than another, as how passionate and perhaps off-center our energies can become. Are we interested, driven, or obsessed with the objects of our desires? He's talking on two fronts here. There is nothing trivial about checking out our objects of worship to see if we are sane in our worship or if we become dramatically out of balance. The religiously obsessed can become dangerous in their view of what is right, religious extremism. And those whose focus is entirely on the size and number of their possessions can also shut down the vitality of their own spirituality. Wisdom would have us become devoted to spiritual self-care with reverence for our worldly living as part of our spirituality. In other words, there's balance in life. So Reverend Margaret here is promoting that we balance, that we have spirituality and that we focus on that and we focus on our place in the world. So she's saying balance is a good thing. I'm not quite sure how this applies to, for instance, people in monasteries or convents who are just locked up and do nothing but pray. I can't really say that I think that that is a bad thing. I think it becomes a bad thing. I don't know if bad thing's a really good expression either. I think it becomes counterproductive when our total focus is on one thing, whether it's spiritual or material, and then we try to inflict that on everybody else. Or we do this to the detriment of everybody else. So excessive focus on fame and fortune obviously can be detrimental to everybody, and it's detrimental to us. Because if you think about it, why do people seek fame and fortune? People seek fame because they want other people to, quote, worship them, unquote. It's probably a strong term, but you know what I mean. And to me, somebody in that position doesn't have much self-confidence. They don't think too much about themselves because if they did, they wouldn't need all that external praise and all that external gratification. And the same applies when we become overly focused on anything. So I think there's balance in life. I don't see anything wrong with somebody in a monastery if that's what they want to devote their life to, praying, and they're not inflicting that on anybody else. I don't see anything wrong with people trying to maximize their investments, but I do see something wrong when maybe out of balance is a better word, something out of balance when the focus is entirely on just self gratification. Maybe that's the thing, because somebody in a monastery can be genuinely getting closer and closer to the divine, but they're not trying to inflict that on anybody else. And they're not doing it for self gratification because they're in the monastery or they're in the convent, and really, unless they're trying to impress their people there who are doing the same thing. So I think the whole thing boils down to balance, don't you? Live a balanced life. To me, that's what it boils down to. And you'll notice that even people in monasteries and convents, they spend a lot of time doing stuff that's productive. Gardening, a lot of them make wine, beer. I know in Belgium, a lot of the monks make a lot of beer, ale, actually. By the way, the difference between ale and beer, there is a difference. Beer is bottom fermented and ale is top fermented. You didn't know that, did you? Maybe you did. I don't know. Anyway, I'm rambling and I need to stop rambling. Give you the affirmation. Besides, I am the place where God stands forth in the world as me. Our offering for today is I am devoted to spiritual living and the orderly balance of my daily life. I am devoted to spiritual living and the orderly balance of my daily life. Neither too much nor too little. This is my guiding principle. Neither too much nor too little. This is my guiding principle. So, in other words, balance. And if the weather's been balanced today, it's been kind of one of those days when it didn't know what to do. Didn't know enough to be sunny. It didn't know enough to rain too much. It's been kind of overcast. It's rained a little bit on and off, depending where you are. So that's really all I'm going to say. Oh, yes. Tonight, if you go to Creative Life Spiritual Center's Facebook page, I think you can find the information about tonight's event. It's every Friday. It's called Philosophy Friday. I do believe there could be a link on there to Philosophy Friday. If not, you can email info@creativelife.org. It's a group that gets together. They're not trying to convert you. They're simply discussing principles of life. And kind of like this, it's both spiritual and otherwise. It's a balanced group. And that meets at 7:30 p.m., 19:30 if you prefer, on the, let me see, Central Time. Central Time, USA, Canada. And Mexico. Yeah, I think part of Mexico's on Central Time. Reverent Lisa will be back at 9:15-ish tomorrow. And she's going to have to put a move on because she and I are in a meeting at 10 o'clock Central Time tomorrow. So tune into her tomorrow morning and tune back into me. Give us a like. Please repost. Would really appreciate it. And give us some feedback. I do get feedback and I appreciate it. And if I haven't responded to your feedback, I apologize for that as well. But I do love feedback and I do my best to read it all. So until next time, from me and from this little feline here, namaste.